And action. Welcome to another action-packed episode of the Action Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. We're going to be talking about Murder Mystery 2, which is on Netflix, and Tetris, which is on Apple Plus Live Show TV. And then we are also going to be talking about A Good Person, and that's with Florence Pugh and Morgan Freeman, if you're not familiar with that film. And so let's get into Dungeons and Dragons. Pete, this is an anticipated movie for a lot of people, especially the D&D fans. What were your thoughts?
Well, I'm not a D&D person by any stretch of the imagination. However, I didn't have a lot of expectations going into this because I don't have that history. And so I went into this with a sort of, do I care? Do I not? I love Chris Pine. So I knew that there was at least that, right? This was a very well played out story that was very fun. I enjoyed myself throughout the entire film. I thought the drama was appropriate. I thought the action was appropriate, and yeah, I thought Chris Pine made this movie. I think if it was with anybody different, I mean, you might have a couple of people that you could put in this role in his stead, but I think because of his character alone, you were able to do the things that you were able to do in this film.
Yeah. I mean,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think, well, and I think you're missing too the directors and the writers of this, because that was a big part of why I was even remotely thinking this could be good. It's because it's got the guy that did Game Night, and I love Game Night, and it's John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. They wrote it and directed it. John Francis Daley was actually in Freaks and Geeks. And his character was actually a Dungeons and Dragons fan in that. So, there's a lot of like, I knew this had a chance because this, some of the other iterations, they went the pure serious route and that just didn't quite work. And so I too enjoyed this a lot. It's a good fun ride. And again, like you're saying, that it's well casted, it's well written. I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons fan myself either, so I can't hold it to anything.
But this is a good launching point for a series, like making this an actual cinema IP as opposed to a gaming IP or whatever D&D is.
For sure.
Because I'm not a part of that world, so forgive me.
It's originally a board/card game.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I don't know what iterations of Dungeons and Dragons have been out there over the past 40 years of my life.
Because I know there was a movie in the 2000s for sure.
Yeah, which nobody's ever talked about in their lifetime, right?
Sure.
The same as Super Mario Brothers, right? Like nobody talks about the other movie, yet we're really looking forward to this new iteration because there's a potential for future successes from this initial film.
Yeah.
Had fun. It's a good watch and it's a good ride. There's a lot of comedy. It's really funny. I thought Michelle, what was her name? Michelle Rodriguez?
Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez.
She was good. I'm not a big fan of hers typically because I don't know, like she's fairly typecasted in a way. Like I'm the tough Latina chick who just, can kick ass or whatever, but
yeah,
I thought that you saw a lot of heart and you really got to see a really emotional, sensitive side of her. And her character really kind of portrayed that with the daughter of Chris Pine's character. And I loved that sort of dynamic. And I also liked seeing the girl from It.
Let me add on to her real quickly.
Sure.
What I liked about her in this too is she was funny. But again, I think what she did well was she played it straight versus, because she's not a comedic actress. But what she did well was she played it straight and let the writing tell the joke or the situation tell the joke versus her trying to be funny. So she was very successful in doing that. She did a great job.
And she loved potatoes, which is fantastic. And potatoes somehow work in a potato works its way throughout the entire movie, which is just bizarre. But she pulled it off, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. All around, it was good. Go see it. I know some people are going to critique probably the CGI. CGI was a little rough at times, but like I
Yeah.
said, kind of just go with it, and I think it's fine. This is not Lord of the Rings, but
No,
again,
but if
I think if you like game night, I think you'll like this in a fantasy type world. I think it worked.
No, this is really good, especially if you have the AMC pass and you can see up to 3 movies per week, then you would certainly go and see this movie because it's certainly worth the time and the effort it takes to go to the theaters nowadays, which I think everybody should do. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no reason to sit at home all the time and watch streaming movies. I mean, there's some really great blockbuster sort of films out there. This is not a blockbuster, but it's good. This is a good time on a
yeah,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and you should certainly go and see it.
for sure. Okay, our next movie is Murder Mystery 2, and that stars Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. And this is on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix. And
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Adam Sandler film of all time. But it's a fun time as well, I thought.
Okay,
What did
that's
you think?
good. I tried, like I really, really tried with this film, and I know we say this all the time when there's a movie that we don't necessarily gel with, right? Like we don't want to
Mhm.
bash um, the hard work and effort that goes into filmmaking. And I really, really, really tried with this film. It's just, I just thought that this movie missed on what its core was supposed to be, which was comedy. And they had comedy in it, but it wasn't funny. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
yeah,
there were a lot of scenarios and situations and a lot of dialogue that was funny to an extent, but nothing that I like laughed at out loud like I've done in
yeah,
virtually every Adam Sandler movie I've ever seen, where there's something where I'm laughing hysterically, and there's something that I'm stealing and using, and with my friends when we're having our normal day to day conversations. Like
yeah. You're not going
this
to quote this
movie,
movie.
this movie just didn't provide that sort of level of Adam Sandler movie that, and to be honest, I just didn't understand like what was going on with Jennifer Aniston in this film. Like I don't know, like I didn't get any emotion from her whatsoever. Like her face, I didn't see any change in her face throughout this entire film, whether it was fear, comedy, sadness. I didn't see an expression change one time
Yeah,
in this film. But I mean, it's well written. It's a nice story. The dude who plays the guy that gets kidnapped, who's just like an Indian guy, who's just like,
yeah,
he's a fake rat. He was funny. Everything that he said, I laughed at,
yeah,
because it was just so ridiculous. But that was the only Adam Sandler-esque aspect of this film, was
yeah,
that ridiculous part of it. Everything else, there should have been an ounce of ridiculousness that made me sort of laugh during this sort of serious murder mystery. The guy who plays, no, I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But it's a nice watch. It's a good streaming movie that you would watch, with your significant other, and certainly not with like your kids or anything, unless they were older. But
yeah, yeah.
I just think I think it could have been so much more.
Yeah,
This
I would
film.
agree with that. I would agree with that. Yeah, it's definitely okay. I would take Dungeons and Dragons over this one. Dungeons and Dragons, I thought
Yeah.
funnier than
I
this.
mean, dare I say it? Dare I say bland? Like it was just
Yeah,
it
there
was
are
it was
moments where it's just
bland.
very, yeah.
Like a
Like
lot of the dialogue between Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, like it really could have just been, if they would have just did a dialogue path on the script itself. Like if they didn't, it felt rushed. It felt
yeah,
like they just had to get this movie out for some reason. I thought all the core elements were there to make this a great film. I thought the cast was great. I thought the story was great. I thought the dialogue especially was. I mean, even the action was great, right? It just felt like the dialogue was just so bland, and it just didn't feel. I want to
I agree
laugh
with you. It's too serious. I think it was.
outside of outside of like Uncut Gems or even like a Spanglish or something like that, right? Where I expect Adam Sandler to be shown, or shoot, help me out. What's my favorite Adam Sandler movie ever?
Happy Gilmore. Billy
No,
Madison.
the basketball one where he's amazing.
Oh, Hustle.
Hustle.
Yeah.
Hustle. You go into that and you expect comedy, which you get, but there's just this amount of seriousness. So you expect that sort of thing. This kind of Adam Sandler movie, I expected to just bust my gut at moments, and I just
Yeah.
didn't get that.
Yeah, this could have used, I think, like another powerhouse type of actor, like one of his guys, Rob Schneider, David
Mm,
Spade,
hmm
Chris Rock, and somebody, one of his gang.
That's a great point. Like, yeah, you didn't get any of those secondary characters, even a Nick Swartzen, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
to
you
just
need
kind
you
of
need to
jump in and just
really
add a
carry it.
little bit of that flavor.
Like just go with it, right? Which is the same actors. Again, like you're saying, Nick Swartzen was in it. Brooklyn Deckler, who was funny and was in that. The kids were really funny in that. So I
Right.
think I agree with you. I think the secondary characters needed to level up. I like the general with no arm. That was like a one-time joke, right?
It was a
It
one-time joke.
was a one-time joke, and it was like it's funny. And then
Yeah.
they had a couple jokes in there about it, which was good. But like he's not a strong enough character. Like Terry Crews in Blended, right? Where he just pops
Right.
up and sings the song.
Shows up.
We're
It's just like,
blending.
yeah, and he's just, I mean, it's just something. Or Dan Patrick. You throw Dan Patrick in this movie,
Yeah, I don't
and
think he was in this one, was he?
no, and he's got some weird mustache, and he's just like this goofy character that just kind of comes in and just crushes for like,
Yeah.
45 seconds of screen time. Like it just missed so many of those amazing Sandler movie elements that make his movies
Yeah.
fun. You know what I mean? And I went into this because it wasn't a theatrical release. I went into this like just expecting to just have a great time
Hmm.
for, an hour and whatever minutes it was. And it was fine. There were so many aspects of this film that were good. Just thought that the comedy was, I mean, just go punch that up really fast. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like take a couple of weeks, punch up the comedy, because all of the actors that you had in there, I've seen them act comedically before. They would have crushed
Yeah.
if you would have written something that was actually. It just felt bland.
Yeah. And I think too, when you're talking about sequels and to make it not bland, like to really that's when you have an opportunity to add another character who can kind of come in and you're just like, wow, like they weren't in the original, but they were so good in the sequel, and that's what helps makes the sequel. I think it can use
Right.
that. So, all right, well, let's move on.
No, I agree.
Next movie, Tetris, starring. I wish I did a little more prep.
Taron
Taron
Egerton.
Edgerton, yeah, Taron Edgerton. Uh, I'm gonna let you talk about this one. I
Yeah.
saw it last night. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm loving what I see so far. I love the style of it, the production design. Love the story so far. He's excellent. Everything about this I love so far. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I also saw Air last night, which I will not talk about today. We'll talk about it in our next one. But a lot of similarities because it's both about big IP founding kind of situations, and so I really loved it. And I watched this after Air, but really, really good so far. So I'm looking forward to finishing that.
No, this is a great this movie. I was after I watched it. This is my number one movie of the week for sure, hands down. It starts off and very much puts you into that world with its graphics, that 80s sort of computer graphics. Each scene, instead of an establishing shot of like a house or a building or wherever, it's like a Nintendo version of that set piece done in pixels, right? And you start off and you're like, I already know it's a biopic going into it, right? It's how this guy Edgerton's character gets Tetris on the map. Like that's the core of the story, right? And basically it was invented by a Russian, and through manipulation and people being just dicks, they were able to steal the idea and start to license it out to game consoles, arcades, etc. Then all of a sudden, Nintendo and Edgerton's character gets involved because he buys a specific region, which was Japan. So that's how he's now incorporated in this world. Now all of a sudden, Game Boy's like, no, Nintendo's like, we invented a Game Boy, and now the idea of handheld rights come into play. That's like the first 20 minutes of the film. Everything I just said. And then you have to go around and follow this character from Russia to Japan to all these different places as he's trying to figure out who actually owns the rights to this IP. And is it the Russians? But Russia doesn't want to have anybody involved because this is the height of the Cold War or post-Cold War, where, I mean, they still hate us, we hate them.
Yeah.
And this suddenly goes from like a biopic,
and Rocky hasn't brought the two countries together yet.
Yeah, Rocky hasn't done that yet. It almost turns this movie into like almost like this like Cold War spy sort of movie where you're just on the edge of your seat the entire time, and you're trying to understand like who's good, who's bad. Is that Russian good? Is he working with? Is he bad? Is he part of that? Is he part of the KGB? Like,
yeah,
man, this movie was so well done, and I'm seeing a pattern with Apple, Apple Plus, Paramount, Excited, whatever the titles are for these streaming channels. But I mean, Apple puts out a movie every couple of months, and they're not just putting out fluff. They're not putting out content for the sake of content. They put out films that are, for whatever reason, important, well done, and thought-provoking and intriguing, and they make you nervous while you're watching them. And then when you're done with it, you're like, wow,
yeah, they've had a
why
good
wasn't that in a, why wasn't that in a theater? Tetris could have very easily been in a theater. I understand why it wasn't, because I don't know if it really has that sort of draw initially from like, oh, it's a Tetris movie. People are like, give a shit. Go and see this film if you have Apple.
Well, it's just it's
really
part of just
well
buying
done
rights
film.
now. It's just part of buying rights now. Everybody's got to have their
phenomenal film.
Yeah, Apple needs to have, because that's how they get subscriptions, right? Like you can only see this on Apple. Like if they weren't having these movies, I wouldn't, purchase it myself. So
right,
they've had a good slate. They've definitely increased. You can see it all coming together.
It's so good, and the resolution
forward.
of this story is heartfelt, and it's then they weave in the story of him and his family who are Japanese, and so he lives in Japan, and he does this weird thing in the film where all of his family talks to him in Japanese, but he only responds in English. But then at the end, he speaks Japanese to his kids and to his wife, and it's just like, it's like, oh my god, it's just it's really well done. I mean, what a thoughtful movie. Like they put time into this film and effort, and it pays off. It's so far one of my favorite films of the year. It's April.
Awesome. All right. Well, next let's do a Good Person. I'm assuming you didn't see this one yet, right, Pete?
No, I haven't seen this yet.
Okay. I saw this one, and I wasn't necessarily looking forward to seeing this one. I mean, it was Florence Pugh, it was Morgan Freeman. I did not realize.
It's a good start.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, maybe this is gonna be pretty solid. Florence Pugh's been, definitely on the rise. So and then I find out it's directed by Zach Braff, and he did Garden State, among other things. He was in Scrubs. And I was like, okay, let's see what this movie is gonna do. And I'll tell you what, man, this is just a well written and crafted film. I got pretty emotional in this one. The subject matter is tough if you've experienced it. Florence Pugh's an opium addict, and it's really about her. The setup is pretty insane. She's she gets in a car accident that kills her fiance's sister, and Morgan Freeman's the dad of the dead sister. But ultimately, the relationship, the guy still wants to marry her, but then, the relationship, ultimately she just can't deal with everything, and she is the one that ends the relationship. And then, it's really just about her journey on trying to kind of pick up the pieces, but the pieces kind of keep coming back. So like Morgan Freeman is in the NA class that she's in, or NA Anonymous class that she's in. And then, she accidentally meets the daughter of, the sister that she was in the accident with. And so it's really just about kind of uncovering like the kind of the roots of this. And again, you just go on this journey, and it's a very, very impactful film. Really, really good. I mean, I could see this possibly getting nominated. Screenplay, maybe Zach Braff director. It's got that kind of potential.
Wow.
I
remember when you wrote me after you saw this film, and you had glowing reviews of this film, not only just the film itself, but the performances and how emotional you got. And it made me want to go and see it. And it's just unfortunate that I didn't have the time to go see this movie specifically. I think I had to see what we just reviewed prior to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wasn't even expecting to see this, and then a little opening creeped up and was like, let me go jump on it. I got time. So really glad I did. Pay attention to this film. You'll hear about it in the next Oscars. I think it's that kind of a film.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's high praise.
Yeah, I was pretty spot on last year with a few of my picks, and
I thought I was too. I thought Till was going to crush.
Yeah, that was probably the only one that didn't, out of all the ones I picked. That Till was the only one.
Still don't understand that, but whatever.
Yeah. All right, Pete. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Like you mentioned, next week's going to be an action-packed episode as well.
There's a lot.
I've already seen it, so I'm not going to give it away. But we will be talking Air. I'm seeing Super Mario Brothers tonight. So hopefully we'll actually get this podcast out a little quicker next week. Is there any other movies that I'm missing?
Well, there's several that are coming out that you've seen previews for forever, and they're finally coming out. I just looked right now to see if they were in the theaters yet. They're not, so don't hold me to it. But from what I'm reading, Paint is supposed to come out.
Paint
with Owen Wilson. The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe is supposed to be coming out. If not this week, it'll be next week. Renfield with Nicolas Cage as a vampire should be out either this week or next week. And then there's also Mafia Mama with Toni Collette that, based on the previews themselves, it looks like a very funny movie as well. So, we're going to do our best to see all six of those. There's
also another film called On a Wing and a Prayer. Then that starts Dennis Quaid and Heather Graham.
Yeah, I saw that. But again, where is it?
I'm just looking at what's coming out. It says theaters.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer.
So we'll try. We'll see what we can get to you guys.
There's a lot. For some reason this week, like the past couple of weeks, there's been like one, maybe two films. This week, for some reason, there's 6. So
it's Easter week, so people are off. That's why.
That makes sense.
This is a big box office.
Oh, it's on Prime. On a Wing and a Prayer is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, excellent. So we'll try and catch. Oh, I see this.
That makes that easy.
Yeah,
that's easy.
Awesome. All right. So with that, people, we'll get you a lot of nice reviews. We'll have a nice thick episode. And thank you for subscribing, tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment below. You've got your own opinions, or you hate our.
Love to hear your thoughts as well.
Absolutely. So we'll be coming back next week with another one. And with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.